Hey friends, I hope you're all having a beautiful day. I had no intentions of sharing any of this today, but I'm a firm believer in sharing what's on my heart, and honestly, I just can't stop smiling. Just a few hours before recording this episode, I was on a coaching call with a few of my blossoming teacher students, and I just have to take a minute to take you on a full circle journey. As a teacher, on the first day of school, we have no idea what the school year has in store for us, yet we hope for nothing but the best. As the days go on, we get into a rhythm with our students and things start to become second nature. Although we can't see all of the physical changes that are happening right in front of us inside of our classroom each day, when we pull up pictures from the first day of school and when we start to reflect on those first few weeks of school, we really do start to see how much our students have changed and grown. Although it doesn't seem like that much time has passed, seeing where our students started and where they are now is seriously the best feeling. And you guys, that's exactly how I felt on our Blossoming Teacher coaching call today. Honestly, I could just tear up thinking about it. Reflecting on where my first group of blossoming teachers were when they joined our course to where they are now, all I can say is wow. Having a front row view of the incredible journeys they have been on since last April when I met them has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life. Just as I always reflected on who my students were when they entered the class and who they were when they left at the end of the year, it's all come full circle for me again. The students who joined the Blossoming Teacher course last year came into the course feeling unsure of who they were as educators. They had no idea where to even think about applying for jobs, what their classroom management strategy was going to be, how they were going to reach the needs of their kids each day, or even how they were going to manage it all. And honestly, some of them are still working on the time management piece, but seeing them blossom into the teacher that they were born to be, it's just unexplainable. Over the past year, I've gotten the chance to watch them go through their interview process, accept their dream jobs, find their confidence as an educator, and even just watch them grow as a person. As much as they say that I've changed their life, you guys, they're the ones who've changed mine. And that's what I want for you, student teachers. I want to watch you grow through what you go through. I want to watch you find yourself as a teacher, to find your confidence, to watch you take risks, fall, and to get back up and try again. Sometimes we might have to get back up again and again and again. And today's episode is supposed to be all about sharing how to survive your student teaching experience, which is a roller coaster in itself, and I definitely do not want to disappoint you. So I will see you inside of today's episode.
Welcome to the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. Whether you're a first-year teacher, veteran teacher, or just a mom trying to gain some new insights, you are right where you are meant to be. Kayla Durkin, founder of the Blossoming Teacher course, is passionate about helping new teachers blossom into the teacher they were born to be. Kayla wants to help inspire teachers to be their best self, whether that means sharing about personal or professional development, self-care, or the latest and most effective teaching strategies. Through this podcast, you will hear from real teachers sharing their stories about teaching, all with one main goal in mind: to be able to make an impact and help other teachers blossom. And with that, here is your host, Kayla Durkin.
All right, my friends, you're here because you want to know how to survive your student teaching experience. Well, I'm just going to let you know that I almost didn't survive mine. You guys, my heart is beating out of my chest right now because I've never shared this story publicly before. Like ever. I can count on one hand how many people know this story. When I think back to 2014, where my student teaching journey began, I literally get sick to my stomach. Honestly, as I was sitting here trying to decide what I should even tell you about my journey, I just kept getting more and more anxious. I avoided prepping for this podcast for weeks, knowing the emotions that would come along with it. But I know that I'm not the only person who has been in a student teaching environment that was so, honestly, gosh, I'm just not even sure what the right word is to describe it. In the fall of 2014, I began my teaching journey as a student teacher in a third grade classroom. I can't even begin to explain to you how excited I was to begin student teaching. This was it. After 3 years of college, it was finally here. Things started off going really well. I was learning who I was as a teacher, and as it turned out, I wasn't a very confident one. It was brought up during a lot of discussions that I was too shy and quiet, which honestly is why I talk about the importance of being confident as a student teacher and as a first year teacher so often. I know how big of a difference it can make. I know I always say this, but as a teacher, I want you to 100% be your authentic self. But with that, I want you to be a confident version of your authentic self. If you're not one to be naturally loud and bubbly, that's okay. However, when admin are hiring, they're looking for someone who can captivate a classroom. Someone who's going to capture the attention of their students and pull them all together. Of course, this comes with experience. It was absolutely not me when I began student teaching, but luckily, it came with time. Every single day that you're student teaching, think back and remember your why. When you're having a hard time breaking out of your shell, communicating, or trying new things, remember your end goal. It's to become a rock star teacher. You might have to, quote unquote, fake it until you make it, but I promise you, it's worth it. Being confident in who you are as a teacher will take you far. Just a quick side note though, confidence and arrogance are two very different things. Nobody wants a know it all around. Okay, so here's the deal. I have 7 more tips I want to share with you that will help you survive your student teaching experience, but I also want to be very real with you. I'm just going to make a quick assumption and assume that if you're here listening to this episode right now, it's quite possibly because your student teaching experience is maybe just a bit less than you were hoping. If you're here for one of these reasons today, I want you to know that you're not alone. If you're here because you're teaching in a classroom that doesn't seem like a good fit for you, you're not alone. If you're here because your student teaching experience started off on the wrong foot, you're not alone. If you're here because you're struggling with keeping up with the planning and organization, or because this experience is making you doubt your teaching ability, or even if you're here because you're filled with anxiousness about what's next after this, you're not alone. One of the hardest things about student teaching, or even just about being a teacher in general, is feeling like you're alone, that other people don't understand, or that they just won't get it. If you hear anything I say today, though, please hear this. You are absolutely not alone in this journey, and just because things aren't going well now doesn't mean it will be like this forever. I never want to make my podcast episodes all about me, but I do want you to know that while I was student teaching for the first time, because I student taught twice, I was told that I would never be a good educator. I was told that I didn't have what it takes and that students would walk all over me. It was devastating, and I don't tell you that because I want you to feel sorry for me. I'm telling you that because I know it's possible to overcome some of the biggest obstacles that we never saw coming. Those initial comments were just the beginning of the student teaching experience that I never saw coming. You know the song, This Is My Fight Song, Take Back My Life song, Prove I'm Alright song? Well, although that song wasn't out yet in 2014, that would have been my theme song. I had to choose to fight for myself, for my education, and for all of my future students. It wasn't an option for me. I had to take the most deflating and emotionally challenging situation I have ever been in and use all of the hurt and anger that I had to give me the drive and determination that I needed to rise above. Although you're teaching students each and every day, this is also still your education. If you're in a student teaching environment that isn't helping you grow as an educator, I want you to find your fight song and keep pushing through. I want you to show up every single day and give it everything you've got. Not only do you owe it to your students, but you owe it to yourself. Surviving student teaching isn't just surviving the long nights and the lesson plans, it's surviving whatever challenge is thrown your way. As I mentioned, I still have 7 more tips for you that are going to help you survive your student teaching experience, and those tips are practical, doable, and very applicable to any situation that you're in. I know this episode has been pretty heavy so far, but I want you to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Whether your student teaching experience has been nothing but the best or it's been a bumpy road, I want to remind you that part of excelling as a teacher is being able to continue being you throughout your teaching journey. If going through walks through the park every single day fuels your soul, you need to keep doing that. If finding time to read or take a bath brings you peace, make time for that. One of the greatest pieces of advice that I've ever received is to make sure that I put myself on my to-do list. So as you're going through your experience, feeling all the feelings and just trying to survive, remember to take care of yourself as well. Putting yourself on your to-do list isn't selfish. Your students need and deserve the best version of you. Some ways you can do this include committing to a schedule. I know it's so hard to try and wake up a little bit earlier. I know it can be exhausting to even think about setting your alarm earlier than you typically do, but I promise it will make a difference. If you can set a schedule for yourself that's doable, that's practical, if you can set a schedule for yourself that's practical and doable, it's going to make a huge difference for you. I encourage you to set a schedule that includes when you're going to wake up, when you're going to put yourself on your to-do list, when you're going to do your lesson planning, when you're going to take time to read, when you're going to spend time with your family and friends. If you schedule all of these things into your to-do list, it's going to help you feel so much more confident and prepared for the week ahead. While you're thinking about the schedule that you can commit to, when you can do your lesson planning, when you can prepare for the upcoming weeks, I also want you to think about how you can continue embedding healthy habits into your day. I'm not expecting you to run a 5K every single day. I'm not expecting you to go on a long hike or anything like that, but I do want you to try and continue to do things that are going to help fuel your body. You don't have to eat salad and chicken every single day, but I want you to think about making meals that are going to help you give you energy to keep going. If you like hitting up the Chick-fil-A drive-thru on the way home, that's awesome. I know I love a good Chick-fil-A sandwich as well, but try to balance it out. You don't have to hit up the drive-thru every single day. Maybe you hit up the drive-thrus on Wednesdays because on Wednesdays you stay late. If you find that eating healthier is a bit of a challenge for you because you don't even have time to go grocery shopping, I get that too, which is why I'm a huge believer in the Walmart pickup. They're definitely not paying me to say this, but it has changed my life. Take time to think about some easy, healthy meals that you can make for yourself. Load those groceries into your online cart and pick them up as you're on your way home from school. If you're able to commit to a schedule and continue with the healthy habits that are going to fuel your body, you are going to feel so much better while you're student teaching because you're not going to feel that gross, lethargic feeling that I all know we have felt before when we're not taking care of ourselves. I want you to remember as well that while you're student teaching, this is still part of your education. You are still in college, and so you need to ask questions when you have questions. You need to go out of your comfort zone and be willing to say, I'm not quite sure how to do this. Could you elaborate on? Do you think you could help me with? Whatever it is, your cooperating teacher is there to help you. If you are in a situation where you feel like your cooperating teacher is not there to help you, I do encourage you to reach out and ask for help from your university supervisor or anyone else who is overseeing your experience. Remember that you don't have to do it all. Sometimes we feel like we can just keep stacking on thing after thing after thing and that we don't want to disappoint people, so we just keep saying yes to everything, but you really don't have to do it all. You need to set a limit and find some balance for the things that you're doing while you're student teaching. I know last week we talked about going above and beyond and trying to take on as many experiences as we can, which I also feel like you should do, but if those experiences are becoming too much for you and you can't balance it all, then you need to start thinking about what you can take off your plate to make student teaching more manageable for you. If you're here today because you've been struggling with your instruction as a teacher, if you're here because you feel like the directions that you've been giving to students just aren't what your students need, this next tip is also for you. I want you to think about being explicit in your expectations and in your directions. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, what is explicit teaching? No worries. I didn't have a clue when I was student teaching either. This is something that I've learned along the way as well, but I don't want to keep it from you. I want you to be able to take everything that I've learned along the way and begin to implement it as soon as you need it. So setting explicit expectations and directions is when you are being explicit in everything that you say. You're taking the guesswork out of everything you are expecting of your students, and you are taking time right then and there to model the ways that it should be done. Oftentimes, we find frustration in our lessons and with our students' behaviors because we didn't explicitly teach them how we want them to behave or how we want them to handle ourselves or what we expect them to do on the assignment. When that happens, it can cause students to act out, it can cause students to be disruptive, it can cause students to not want to be on task because instead of admitting that they don't know what to do, they would rather goof around. So as you're planning your lessons, as you're thinking about what you're going to be teaching, I want you to take some time to go through and explicitly go through each direction that you'll be teaching to ensure that your students aren't going to have any questions about it. As you become a teacher, this will become easier, but while you're student teaching and while you're just learning how to give directions, this is something that you need to practice, practice, practice. And again, modeling these behaviors and modeling these expectations for students will go a long ways. The last tip that I want to remind you of as you survive your student teaching experience is just the importance of how far relationship building goes. Between relationships with your students, with your cooperating teacher, with the admin in the building, with the teacher across the hall, all of the people that you are interacting with matter so much. If things aren't going well, take time to communicate with each other. Take time to express with your cooperating teacher why you're feeling the way you're feeling, why you feel like you're not excelling. If things aren't going well for you, I want to remind you to go to the root cause of the situation that you're in. Don't go around telling every other person the problem. Go directly to wherever the problem is. Unless it's with a student, then you should probably talk to your cooperating teacher first. If the relationship that you're building with your cooperating teacher isn't going the way you hoped for, take time to talk to your supervisor. Take time to reach out to someone who can help walk you through steps you can take to communicate better with this person. Communication really does go a long way, and sometimes we have hurt feelings, or sometimes we feel like things are a certain way because we jumped to conclusions or because we didn't take time to think about what's really going on. So communication is going to go a long way. Communicate with your students when you feel like things didn't go well. Communicate with your cooperating teacher when you feel like things aren't going well. But I also want to remind you, communicate with your students when you're proud of them, when you're excited for them, when things are going really, really well. Communicate with your cooperating teacher when you're proud of yourself, when you've seen exciting things, when you're ready to try new things or to have a new responsibility added onto your plate. Communication truly will make all of the difference when you're struggling during your student teaching experience. So before we call it a day, please know that whatever situation you're in, whether your student teaching experience really has been amazing, or if you are struggling along the way, just remember you're not alone. It doesn't matter if we've never met before or we've never chatted before. I will always be just a message away. When I say that I help teachers feel confident and supported, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I know what it's like to not be a confident teacher, and I know how hard that can be. If there is anything that's on your heart that's been weighing on you, or that you just need someone to talk to, if you're in a situation that you feel like isn't helping you grow as an educator and you just need an outside perspective, let's chat. Send me a message. If you've been looking for a sign to reach out, this is it. This is your sign. You are right where you are meant to be, and we will chat soon.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort. Be sure to tune in to the next episode for more teaching tips to make an impact. Until next time.